Welcome to our Urban Legends podcast. I'm Dr. Gloria McDaniel Hall. I've been a teacher, a principal, and assistant superintendent, all within urban schools in Chicago and around the country. Our Urban Legends podcast is a forum for sharing ideas, strategizing together, and supporting each other as we dismantle the deficit narratives sometimes associated with urban education and discuss where and how amazing work is being done.
So welcome back to Urban Legends, where we celebrate the voices, the journeys, the innovations, all the cool stuff going on in our communities. And today I am so honored to welcome a new remarkable guest, Audra, who I just kind of met. Somebody did a virtual intro to the two of us and thought that we should be connected. Her story is both powerful and inspiring. She experienced homelessness as a teen and now has become this visionary founder of a project called Period Zero, a workforce pathways. She's lived the challenges so many young people face and has turned her experiences into fuel for transformation. So I'm excited to hear her story. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Audra's journey, the mission and the impact of her work, and the hope that she carries for the future. And I know that you're gonna walk away not only encouraged, but inspired based on her story. So Audra, welcome. Let's get started.
Thank you. That's for such a nice intro.
Thank you so much. So I don't want to get into tell us about you as a teen. If there's some parts of that you don't want to share, but I just think that there are young people who would be so inspired by how you have been able to navigate everything that you went through. So as much as you like to, could you share about your journey as a young person in Pittsburgh and how that journey shaped you into the person that you are today?
Sure. And I'm pretty much an open book. I've learned to talk about this through my dissertation because people kept telling me I need to share this, and it helped, reached out to me and said how I've helped them with being very open and honest. So I try to carry that now through everything and to help others feel more inspired. So as a teen, it was in the 90s, mid-90s actually, my parents tossed me out because my friends didn't look like me and told me I need to get out of their house. So they just threw my stuff out on the front lawn. So I picked my stuff up and made a few phone calls, went to the nearest payphone. So think about that back in the day. And looking for resources. And I called and they told me to go to, there was a shelter for teens in the city of Pittsburgh. So I hopped on the nearest train and went there. I was 15 and a half, I'd say, probably at that time. I had just finished, it was the summer going into supposed to be my junior year of high school. So I ended up at the shelter that summer and then registered myself for school in the city of Pittsburgh, thinking I was going to be starting my junior year at Pittsburgh Brashear High School. And once they got my records, they told me, hey, you could actually graduate if you went to night school and took English. So we can make you a senior. So I registered for that Tuesday, Thursday night class. I worked the other 5 days a week after school and did what, I needed to do so that I could have somewhere to live and kind of see a future for myself. The only thing I knew at the time was I do need to go to school because I didn't want that to be my life, right? I didn't want that just to be the end all be all. So, and get that, I'm a first generation college student. So going to college was a new idea and a new concept. And my high school guidance counselor really helped me get there, Mr. Pollock, who's still my friend today. I dedicated my dissertation to him. Very important person in my life. So finding that key support system, even no matter what season you are in, and having that honest conversation, because no one really wants to talk about the struggles that you do face daily, right? Especially in private or whatever. And I found him, and through every season of my life, he's been a supporter, but you always find those champions, right? Someone that's there for you in your corner and help propel you to that next chapter, that next thing.
So, number one, and again, if you don't want to answer, that's cool. Like, did you ever reconnect with your parents? And then number two, how did you figure that out as a young person? Like, was it just something within you?
I've tried, we'll go back to your first question. So over the years, I've always tried to mend that relationship, right? But it took a long time to figure out that it doesn't matter what I do or who I become. I could be the president of the United States and I still won't be accepted.
Okay.
So a lot of the thing, like all of my accomplishments, so I guess it kind of answers your second piece, right? How did you figure that out? Well, I was always searching to be accepted, right? If I just do this, I'm going to be accepted. If I just do the next thing, I'm going to be like, I'm finally going to get this acceptance, and I would seek acceptance from anyone and everything, right? So very great at making bad decisions. So we can talk about those too. I've had a couple marriages. But how that trauma from your childhood actually carries over with you into your adulthood and how it affects all the decisions that you make. But you don't even realize that is the driver of your decisions until you can really start recognizing maybe some of the patterns and having conversations with people who can help guide you. So I just always was seeking the next thing. Like, oh, I want to be the valedictorian. I want to I always had like big dreams, but I never really had a plan and the action steps on how to get them.
So the first time we talked, you have a daughter, right?
I do. Have two.
The first time we talked, there was something really cool happening with you and her in the background. And so before we even get into the project, if you could tell me about how your experiences as a young person shaped who you are as a mom.
Right. Well, so I have two daughters, right? Okay. And so Carmela is my 20-year-old daughter, and Carmela got to be about that life as I was becoming a better person and a better life. Yeah, learning who I am. She walked all the struggles of me making decisions of paying for electricity or our rent and working 3 jobs and just becoming better over time, right?
Right.
The daughter you got to meet, she's 13, so she gets the best version of who I am, right? And so that also causes conflict between my two daughters. But she, like I said, she gets the best version of me, and I always wanted to be a better mom, be a better teacher. Becoming a mom made me a better teacher because it helps you walk with more empathy and understanding of things that your families that you serve struggle. But I became a teacher and I was successful at what I was doing because I walked in the shoes of the homelessness. So everything I approached in my classroom came with that perspective to make everyone feel welcome and not make someone ask for embarrassing things. We just have things set up in the classroom. If they needed a snack, if they needed to grab some pencils or some supplies, everything was just there for use. It was community use, so that everyone had what they needed to be successful, at least for that day.
Yeah. That's so yeah, I knew this conversation was going to be good because for me, it was this, now the term is belonging or mattering, or I didn't know what the feeling was. I just knew based on my own trauma, what I did not want anybody in my classroom to feel like. And so I just all the time, overdid it in terms of making sure that people felt not only physically safe, because, but emotionally safe in the space. Yeah, we're not talking about anybody. We're not saying anything about anybody's mama. We're not doing those things.
We're here for 7 years.
You're not doing that in here.
Right.
And you got everything that you need. It's a safe space. So now when the people who are my Facebook friends and they're in their 40s remember what it was like being in my classroom, they always say it just felt safe there. And I wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna make everybody feel safe by doing this. I just knew kind of like what I wanted it to feel like when I was in the classroom, and that's what I think I was trying to create. But that's the whole thing. I wonder if people who haven't experienced some sort of either trauma or negative experiences as a young person would even understand that. I don't know.
Like I always say that I became the person that I wish I always had, right?
Yes.
That safe person, that person that can understand anything and like be approachable, no, non-judgmental, like so that like how you're talking about. So my classroom was kind of the same thing, right? So I wanted the space not only to be physically appealing, but emotionally.
Yeah.
It came full circle when I invited the school board members in. I was teaching in Hillsborough County, so Tampa School Board. And I wanted them to come be a part of my classroom because I wanted them to experience what my students are experiencing in these conditions in which they are passing laws and policies for, and to really understand and to walk those shoes, right? And so the day I had 2 school board members co-teaching with me, the interruptions, the kids were just like walking in, walking out, but they were there because they needed like a 5-minute timeout. Either their algebra teacher made them mad or somebody made them mad on the other side of the school, and they're walking out of class and they're like, Dr. Lewis, like your room is just like where everyone seeks like this mental like 5-minute time.
Yes.
And it did matter to me. And then I was looking at them like, like if they notice to come in, especially if they see someone else teaching, and go sit in the little back area that I had set up for them just to take like their 5-minute breather, and then I'd sign their pass and they go back to wherever they need to be. But it was just integrated seamlessly as part of like the system routines within the room. And it didn't matter what period, what time of day, who walked in or what. It was always that safe and emotional space. And sometimes I had to like excuse myself for like a few minutes because they wanted to talk to me in the hallway. And how to approach the adult that really made them upset. So like, yeah, if you go with the way you're thinking, you're only going to get yourself in a little more trouble. And I don't want you to get in more trouble. I want you, because what you have a real need, and you just need to be able to advocate for that need in a way that you can be heard.
Love it. Okay. So what inspired you to create Period Zero, Workforce Pathways, and what problem were you hoping to solve when you first started the work?
So let's start there. So when I was teaching in Tampa, I was a CTE teacher. And so I was also on a new endeavor of 3D schools by junior achievement, which our district had just signed up, and we were like in year 2, right? So I was the new launch skills teacher. But I was also the AVID teacher and the AVID coordinator at the school prior to that, right? And so there's the common things that you see that kids suffer, even whether it's college and myself and coming out of college, or like when you come out of high school, right? There's this misalignment between people want you to be able, like you apply for a job, right? And it says you need 3 years experience, but you don't ever really get the opportunity to get the experience, right? And it's like this catch-22, like to try and ever get your first job or your first yes. You need someone to give you a yes, right? So I created Period Zero as the space to be someone's yes, right? So with Period Zero, I'm serving the youth. Age group of the mission says 14 to 24, helping people fill that gap between what they do in school and relate it to getting their first job, and translating that and articulating that way, either an experience or being able to show and demonstrate that they do have the skills needed to hit the job, ground running for that job or whatever that may be. So I'm building that experiential learning piece, and as well as the biggest piece of it is our industry credentialing piece that's coming in phase 2 at the beginning of next year. So there's too many schools that kids sit in classes around our nation that things they could be earning industry certs for. So say you sit in entrepreneurship for 3 years, you get your high school diploma. Congratulations. When really you spent that time, you should be able to have a relevant way of showing that you've earned some sort of skills, some sort of competencies, to show employers that you have some sort of job skills beyond just what that paper says, right? And so what there's called is the skills framework for the informational age, SFIA. And I am bringing that software, that model to the United States and our United States market. It is done everywhere else on the globe that way. It is recognized on a global scale how employers, schools, and governments talk using a common language. So when they're describing their needs for their workforce pipeline and bringing that common language piece, right? So I'm bringing that to the United States, and so that not only our youth will be able to access it, bringing on boards of schools and employers so that we start working on filling that talent gap. We are decreasing in our nation, not only just by our scores. We talk about our reading scores and our math scores are in the trash, and our global position is going down. Well, what are others doing that we aren't doing? One of those things is they're measuring success with 21st century metrics like PISA and using the skills framework in the information age. We are still using those outdated models in our country for that 20th century work model that no longer exists. Our schools are built on it. Our higher education institutions are still built on it. And we are losing our global position the longer we refuse to adapt to the 21st century way and doing the alignment of how others are doing it on the globe. So that goal is to be able to, whether you're a job changer or someone in the youth, you can log into our platform. You'll be able to earn the badge, the industry recognized credential, to speak that common language. So if you get knowledge, that means you did it in a book, you got it in the classroom, right? If you can score competent, that means you can do it under supervision. And if you can get to the top level of the skills framework and information age, that means you can hit the ground running and do it with very little supervision. And you are competent to be able to do that job description, right? It also measures things what people call soft skills, but I call them your competitive edge skills. So you could get badges in leadership, in communication, in cultural agility, in the things that people say are soft skills, but you're having a provable, evidence-based way to show and demonstrate you do have those skills beyond taking the word of somebody, because we know we have inflated grades, inflated transcripts that go on in schools. And then you also have people who lie on resumes or make up stuff just try and get the job, right? And so it's basically ditching the resume, and people are owning their own credentials and their own skill sets, and they're able to be proved. It's evidence-based. It's proven that if you score this in this framework, then yes, you can be very successful within that competencies of whatever that job demands. So if that makes sense.
That all makes sense. Have you already started this new phase, or when does?
So our website, period0.ai, is under development. We are working with the skills framework and the information age foundation. They have gifted me the educational licenses to get started to do a pilot group, which I'm doing that through our program called Teen Networking Nights. And through Teen Networking Nights is also creating that space, that experiential learning space, to give students those job skills and practice those competencies. Because in the era of AI, and it's the new races of the moon, there's 4 things that you can read in any report that will never be replaced. Number 1, critical thinking. You need critical thinking in any job, in any industry. Creativity, collaboration, and cultural agility. Holding those conversations among all the different people and being able to communicate what you need. Those things can never be replaced across industry, across whatever you choose you want to be. Those are the 4 things that are in demand. And so through our programs, I'm building those experiences. I'm bringing in industry experts, a lot like what they do in college, giving those talks, teaching kids who FICA is and why they're taking their money. I got my first job, now what? And things they're just not doing in school. And I would spend that time in my classroom. I gave up my lunch pretty much every day for years. And I would hold lunch things, teaching this kind of stuff to students because it's not being taught in schools. So period 0 is filling that gap between what you get at school and what the workforce demands, right? And there's a huge, think about this. Schools say, even in education, yeah, we teach leadership, right? You read it. That means you probably read a book and you did a case study. Right? That's what that means. I know that because we're in academia, but most people probably don't, right? But the employer, when they hire you and we say, yes, we teach leadership, they want to know, can you lead a team? And can you show ways that you've demonstrated success in leading teams and some sort of metrics that you can tie to that, right? I'm building that space. Like I'm building that common language, that platform that we can kind of bring together how we think when we hire, prepare, and train talent in our United States. And we can't wait for policy, right? Policy is never going to catch up.
Right.
Instead of trying to now. And so instead of fighting policy and me going to Harrisburg or DC or wherever that may, Tallahassee, and just keep speaking and speaking, we're not really getting anywhere. I'm built a place that's full of action, that outside of policies, that students and our youth can access and to actually prepare global learners. And so so think about that, right? Even like some of the things that we teach in school. We don't really teach Canva. Canva is the #1 tool that's used across all 500 Fortune companies.
And I'm still paying somebody to do it for me.
Okay, that's my point, right? And so, and when I sat on a conference around Canva and Canva for Education, all the schools, all these countries that are outperforming us, guess what they're using in their schools?
What?
Canva, right? And so Canva is one of those tools that I'm going to teach you how to, I'm going to teach you how, you make up your professional email. We don't want to email, Big Daddy 1234 or whatever, or Will 420, who's like, come on, like you professional impressions, and having those conversations with our young people around professional impressions. Now, I may not necessarily agree with you people can't have purple hair, right? But that's, whatever your opinion may be, but if you're really trying to access an industry or access some goal for yourself, there are going to be some concessions that you do have to make to get there. And those are things that really aren't taught, right? And you don't really have those conversations. Those are life lessons that you kind of learn once you get that diploma in hand. You throw your diploma usually destined for dust into a drawer, and you're just trying to figure it out from there.
Right. How many people like are on your team? Like, it seems like it's a huge endeavor.
Right. So on my board itself, it's me, obviously, plus 5 others. And so when I talked about period zero, and I this has been an idea in my mind since my teaching in 2018, when I was seeing like the digital divide and the gaps, and how are we going to create spaces for everyone to be access these tools that in a digital world that we live in, that not everyone has access to. But I really didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. But that was like my dream. I talked to my principal. I had some ideas that I wanted to do at the school, and she told me that could not be done because of start explaining policies and laws, FTE, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, if we were to do that, that would have to be in the 0 hour. So from there, that was like the little seed, thing. So the 0 hour became this thing in the back of my mind, and I was like, I need to start period zero, and I didn't really know what it was going to look like or what it was going to be. When I started working on my dissertation through COVID, I got recruited, and I was like, okay, the time is now. And I feel like once I had those letters after my name, because who am I? I'm not the smartest person in the room, Gloria, not by any means. Truth be told, friends out there, I got a 600 SAT score, and I took it twice. But I was a top performer. I was in the top whatever of my class, in the top 10%. So again, those statistics and those things that we put in place to measure success really don't measure success. And if I would have gave up as soon as I got my SAT score and said, 600, I'm never getting away, no one's going to want me. No, I just kept working harder at it to prove that I can, and that none of this is permanent, like just to keep pushing past it. And so that's kind of like how like the period zero, build that space, make that access for everyone. And then figuring out through when I was working through my research and writing my dissertation, I only saw the greater need of the misalignment between what we do in schools and the real way the world works. And our School of Education really needs to get with our School of Business and build that pipeline partnership to really develop these experiences, whether it's in high school and in college.
Yeah, I think middle school, like I really think, because I mean, kids are trying to figure stuff out. Like and that kind of leads me to the next question. And I don't know if you can think of someone, this might be hard, but like a success story, somebody, young person you've worked with, and like, this is the proof of why I'm here and doing this work. Yeah.
With under period zero, obviously that's too new, right? Because I'm getting my program, but it's built on the principles and foundations from when I was leading the Office of Community Outreach.
Yes.
At the University of Pittsburgh, Greensburg. And so everything that I built through there was built on my research and these concepts and my ideas. Right. And when students, I wasn't the teacher of record, I didn't see these kids every single day. My title was an engagement manager. So your title doesn't even matter at this point. Right. But I had students reaching out to me and still inviting me to their graduations and wanting to celebrate their milestones with me because of the conversations I took the time to explain to them, like thinking about finance. Let's run these numbers. Like, let's try and figure out what is really the best school for you, and just having these very honest conversations and being that mentor and being that voice of reason that's non-judgmental, and having like my students still from Tampa, they call me still. They're adults,
Isn't it amazing when that happens?
It is, and it's so rewarding to see some of their successes and the things that you got to play a small piece into that journey, and that's the rewarding piece, right? And like I said, I just want to be that person like Mr. Pollock was for me. I want to be that to anybody that wants to talk or help or have some dreams and don't know how to get the action steps. And really kind of help people figure that out, right? Because when you're a visionary, it's very hard to scale in. Because my boss used to tell me, like, even my dissertation chair, Dr. Sparks, she's like, "That's a great idea, Audra. How are you going to do that?" And forcing you to think through, okay, well, what are those action steps, and maybe what are those, like the first 1, 2, 3 to get there, and then circling back to that.
So right now, while we wait for this amazing, I need you to tell me when things are rolling, because I either want to take a course and get a certification or suggest people to come to your program. But right now, this school year 2025 started today in Chicago. What suggestions would you give to teens and families, anybody who might be struggling right now, especially in these times we're facing with trying to figure out stuff?
So much. We're trying to figure out paying our bills. We're trying to figure out food. We're trying to figure out just our school supply.
Healthcare.
Like, honestly, so my advice to anybody is figure out your big rocks, right? At the beginning of this school year, set 3 goals for yourself and being specific in your goal. Like, not like I just want to get straight A's, or like what is something that's real, and maybe I'm going to get all of my homework done, because that could be a challenge in itself, especially if you're coming home and taking care of other, like your siblings, your cousins, if you're working a job to help your family out, to buy food, right? And trying to set what are your big rocks. And then finding yourself someone like I did, my Mr. Pollock, who's going to be the Mr. Pollock in your life. Finding that one trusted adult, and then use that trusted adult as a weekly check-in. these are my goals, and these are, and then getting those next action steps from, and then just make that a weekly habit, right? If you can, even if it's something as minimal as, I'm not very good at organizing, and I hate folding and doing clothes, but I feel like maybe I need to hold myself accountable, and I need to get better at it. Like, so even if it's something that that doesn't have to be an academic kind of goal. I want you to think about those 3 things in your life that's really propelling you, and then set those goals, find that partner, and have those weekly conversations. There might be weeks that you don't even progress because of all the rocks and things being thrown, barriers back at you. But having that accountability piece, and then chunking out your time for your big goals and really focusing on that with that trusted adult, I think will help. Because that adult's also going to be able to give you some resources that you may not know that are out there, between like maybe a new food bank or a new nonprofit or someone in their network that they can connect you with, because your personal connections are everything, right?
Yeah, that is it.
Our connections are everything. And as adults, children, whoever, you're human, you desire that human connection, and you want to know that you matter. And when you find that person, they're going to keep making you feel like you matter and not give up on yourself. Because I don't want anybody to ever give up on themselves, because whatever you're in right now is temporary. These are temporary circumstances. It is not your entire life. And sometimes it can feel that way. But having that person can help you kind of navigate and see a little further past that, because they see something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Dr. Audra, thank you so much. I knew it was going to be an incredible conversation, but you got my mind going. Like, now I'm running to the library after we get off. Your journey just reminds me, and is going to remind all of the listeners, about how our past doesn't have to define us, but rather, like, we went through some stuff so that we could be prepared for either helping others, coming out better on the other side, a brighter future. Like, your story is so inspirational, and we like to lift up stories like yours because it shows just how powerful resilience, vision, being interviewing with others, yes, all of it. And Period Zero really is your story, like, in action, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I can't wait to help. When we say we're preparing global learners, I got global learners with receipts. It's with receipts. That is our merit-based, evidence-based, because now you can compete on a global level. Gloria, when you and I when we were growing up, when we applied for jobs in our local town, once we got even our college degrees, when we were competing and we applied at the local wherever, those applications were only coming in from that zip code, that area code, right? When you apply for a job now, Gloria, anywhere in this country, they have applications coming in from every country. We are no longer competing against the best of the best in our area. We are competing against the best of the best on a global scale. And we've got to shift our nation and our thoughts to how are we measuring ourselves on a national scale and competing on a global network, right? And that's what we're doing here at Period Zero, where I'm helping people actually position themselves with globally recognized credentials and a way to prove it with receipts.
I'm taking courses.
Look, you can get badges for your life experience, right?
So some badges. Thank you so much, Dr. Audra. This is amazing. And I got to get your info so I can send you an official Urban Legend shirt now that you...
Yes, I want to look at this Urban Legend. I want to be wearing it. Like, yes.
Thank you. Have an amazing year and rest of the day, too.
Right. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm on Please, I'm on Instagram, Dr. Audra Lewis, period zero. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm in the different venues of spaces for the different faces, right? Our young kids are in the TikTok and Instagrams. And then as you transition into a professional, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Reach out to me, or you can send me an email at info@period0.ai, and I'll help connect you. And if you want to share or pick my brain, I'm an open book.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.